I thought you'd make me share.
Yeah, that's exactly
Nobody-
right. About made Seth share his lunch, so.
Nobody needs to see this eating.
Hey, we do have somebody in here. Awesome.
Hello.
Dean made it. Way to go, Dean. You're the good person.
I don't want Mark to feel alone,
That's right.
and it's good that I'm not sitting in my office eating too. It is lunch and learn, so.
That's exactly right. I just didn't get down fast enough to get my lunch before I started to learn, so.
I mean, it is called a lunch and learn.
You
The
got it.
lunch is first.
Give people just a few more minutes and then we'll get things started. Everybody was so quiet, I thought maybe we lost sound here for about 5 minutes earlier. It was just
Really?
dead quiet.
Busy Monday already, let me tell you.
Why is that? But everybody seems to be in the same boat.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Allison, as we start, I want to let you know that the catalog pages did sort of a major upgrade with Will's input on Friday late. And so I sort of went through and standardized some of the language throughout, so it's pretty close. It's going to cabinet tomorrow, high level input.
Okay.
It's got to go through admissions yet, and then I'm bringing a piece of it to the division on Friday, just FYI.
Sounds good. I keep getting the updates that there's been a change made on the Google Doc. So I've known you were working in there.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're straight up 12 o'clock, so I'm going to go ahead and we've got plenty of folks here. So let's get things started, and those that aren't here yet, we'll catch up or forever be lost, right? All right, well, today we've got an exciting guest. Allison is going to be talking about the core curriculum here. And to get you to the content and me get out of the way, I'm going to turn it over to Allison right off the bat and say, take it away and let's have some fun.
Great. Thanks, Mark. And thank you all for making time to be here. There's lots of people on this call who also have been very involved in the core curriculum development process. So I'll be really relying on Lori to talk about the core advocacy project. But to get us started, I'm going to launch a poll here. I want to get a sense from those in the room. How much do you know about the core? Are you feeling like you know nothing? Zero, very, very little. Maybe this is your first or second week here at the college and you don't know anything about it. Maybe you know a little bit, maybe you know quite a bit. And then, and then the fourth one with my typo would be pretty much everything. Like, you're like, I pretty much feel like I've gotten all the information I could possibly need about the core. So take a minute to select one of those options. That'll help me be able to tailor a little bit of the conversation today. All right. With 18 responses in, we have pretty overwhelming 67% feel they know a little bit about the core. So I'm really glad you're here. I'm hoping that by the end you feel like you know quite a bit about the core, and that any questions that you have about the core, that you can get them answered, or at least you can share with us what your questions are, and then we can make sure that we get you the resources or information you need to feel more confident. I'm going to close out that poll, and then I also just want to open the chat to any questions you have from the get-go. So I have a very short presentation, but my favorite lunch and learns are more conversational. So I would love questions that you have already that you know that you want to ask. You can just start dropping them in the chat. And as I go through my slides, hopefully I'll answer some of them, and any of them that I don't answer, I will hopefully answer at the end. So feel free to use the chat function to drop any questions in there as we go. I am going to share my screen. I did put the link to the Canvas slides in the chat as well. So you have access to these if you want to see them later. If somebody can come off mute and let me know if you can see these slides, that would be great.
I can see them.
I can see
I
them,
can see 'em.
Allison.
Can see it.
Great, thank you. So the core curriculum revision process started over 2 years ago, and it was we were charged with imagining a core curriculum that is bolder, clearly defined, and guides today's students to master the arts and sciences of healthcare. And as we thought about that, there's been a lot of people, probably many of you on this call have been involved in some way, from whether you are on, a recommendations committee, a review committee, the creating team, coming to forums, open discussion, faculty input sessions, staff input sessions, all advisory board. You maybe have been involved in any one of those things. But over the past 2 years, we realized that the educated citizen still is extremely pertinent. It falls into this idea that we want to have a core curriculum that guides today's students to master the arts and sciences of healthcare. So we are not changing the concept or the idea of the educated citizen, and we're not changing the goals that go along with the educated citizen, which are the reflective individual, the effective communicator, and change agent. How we deliver on those is changing a little bit, and that's what we want to talk about today. So the core curriculum, I'm going to zoom in here on this infographic, but the educated citizen curriculum consists of these 3 buckets that we're calling the core, the foundation courses, and then the professional courses that students take. So when you hear us talk about the core curriculum, we want you to think about these courses that we are offering that have the core as the prefix: Core 101, Core 201, Core 301, and Core 401, and Core 402. Those are our new core courses. And what it means by that, what we mean when we say core, is these are classes that have to be taken here at NMC. They cannot be transferred in. There isn't any partial credit given. If you took this and this, you can then take something else for 1 credit, which we've done in the past. The new core curriculum these are the core courses that every student at NMC has to take here with us, and they're really unique and specialized to fit the what we think is important as an NMC student. So Core 101 and Core 201 are for our associate degree students. Core 101, 201, 301, 401, and 402 are for our bachelor degree seeking students. Now, there are some differences, and I saw a lot of the names on the call before I started sharing my screen, but there are some differences for students that are in a short program, which we are considering a 1-year program. So students that are in our ACE program don't take that full slot of 12 credits. If you have specific questions about specific programs, I'll answer those at the end. But the vast majority of our bachelor degree seeking students will take all 5 of those courses. You'll see Core 401 is a 2-credit course, and that gets rounded out with the senior seminar, which is 1 credit. And I'll talk a little bit about that as well. And then we have our foundation courses. These are all the other courses that are required by program and by accreditation for students, depending on their degree program. But these are foundation courses that are taught out of arts and sciences. So the first number is for associate degree students. The second number is credits for a bachelor's student. So communications, 6 credits for both humanities, natural and applied sciences, and these are minimums. We know a lot of our students end up taking more than that, and especially in natural and applied sciences, and then social sciences. And then lastly, the professional courses that students are in. We want the educated citizen. We don't want, I only learn about the educated citizen and what it means to be a reflective individual and effective communicator and change agent just in the core. No, they're learning about that in the core, their foundation courses, and their professional courses. And I cannot see the chat. But feel free to come off mute and ask me questions at any time. This is very informal. This is not, you can interrupt.
Hey,
at any time.
Allison,
Yeah, go ahead.
there was a question from Lisa Flaherty. It says, what are the last semesters for current core curriculum courses, i.e. SSC 465?
Which
Okay,
doesn't have to be answered right now, but just kind of as students keep progressing through the
Yeah.
program, when's their deal breaker?
Yep, we will talk about teach out.
Yep.
I absolutely will get to that. I'm gonna
Perfect.
ask Dean to pull up that document if he can. I don't want to say the wrong thing because I think it's summer 26, but I don't want to be quoted on that. So we'll make sure to answer that question. In terms of the old charge that we were given, that we really wanted this to be bold and innovative and really something that students are excited about, we implemented high impact practices in all of the core courses. So in Core 101, students will be participating right now in the year 1 as a pilot. First time freshmen will be participating in a learning community. I can talk about these in more detail. I want to give an overview and then we can get into the weeds. Core 201 is a focus on interdisciplinary teams. So this is the idea. We hope that we have students across programs in each of these sections. And so there's a focus on teamwork and communication and conflict management from an interdisciplinary perspective. Core 301, there's a community engagement focus or component. And then in Core 401, it's really finalizing their core advocacy project and putting that together in an exhibit. And we'll talk about the core advocacy project, which is the last part of this slide, which I am going to come back to and have Lori talk a little bit more about as we progress through here. So I want to talk about some of the changes. So the courses that we have traditionally offered that will no longer be taught include HUME 150, SSC 235, COM 320, another typo I just noticed, and SSC 465. And Lisa asked a really important question about when are these no longer going to be taught. I can tell you HUME 150 is no longer being taught after this term. So every new student, every student starting in the fall will be starting in Core 101. We are going to move students over to the new curriculum as soon as we possibly can, if it makes sense for the student. Now, students that are going to be taking SSC 465 in the fall, it doesn't make sense to move them over to this new curriculum in their very final semester when they've already done all this work on their portfolio. So students will we will run through SSC 465 through next year. COM 320 will be taught again in the fall of 2025. And then I'll share the teach out model or teach out plan with you all for specifics on the other courses. But HUME 150 and 235 will no longer be taught starting in the 25-26 school year. Additional changes include the language requirement. So students in the past, if they had taken a language, any college level language course, they could transfer that in for 2 credits, and then they would take a 1 credit cross-cultural communications course that was really about working with patients across cultural differences. It wasn't so much language acquisition as it was a culture and healthcare course. That course, it was COM 252, is no longer being taught. And now any student that has had any 3-credit language course previously can transfer that full credit in to meet their language requirement. If a student has not taken a college level language course, then they will still need to take a college level language course with us, which we offer Spanish and sign language. Sociology in the past, you'll see SSC 235 has been a requirement for every program, and that is no longer going to be a separate requirement. Many students transferred that in. And if not, then they took it with us. There's no longer a sociology requirement. Sociology is being embedded in the core curriculum, specifically in 201 and 301, and I will show that to you. So we do meet the accreditation requirement for sociology because of the specific ways that we're teaching it in the core curriculum, but there's not a separate sociology requirement. And then lastly, we still have in the humanities, we have a history requirement. One of the humanities courses has to be history, but we have broadened that category to also include political science, or introduction to political science, and introduction to American government. So those are new courses that can be transferred in, that in the past were not, we didn't offer transfer credit for those courses. Okay. Before I jump into the core courses, any questions? Okay, I don't expect you to read through this slide. I know there's a lot of text on it, but I just wanted to point out, these are the 4 new courses with the course descriptions. And so I wanted to give you a sense of what are students doing in these courses. Because as you see here, it's not a direct one-to-one. It's not like we're teaching the exact same thing that we taught in critical reasoning and rhetoric, and we're just calling it Core 101. Or, SSC 235, we just changed the name to 201. It is not a one-to-one switch. These are all completely new, fully developed courses. And it's been based on so much research and data analysis, really looking at stakeholder surveys, both internal and external, looking at the national landscape in terms of best practices for core curriculum, looking at accreditation and what our needs are, looking at the 5-year program review from arts and sciences. All of those informed what we believe needs to be taught in our core curriculum. So I just want to highlight some of the pieces of, so Core 101, it still includes critical thinking, but there's a focus on mindset principles, and also stress management and stress, like coping strategies. That all falls into 101, and then professional communication. You'll see professional communication shows up in all 4 of the courses by design. It is integrated in the 4 courses and scaffolded, and I'm going to show you an example of how we do that. And so a public speaking course is no longer required. Again, same as sociology, it's being embedded in these 4 courses, or the first 2 for our associate degree students. So Core 201, it has a focus on leadership, and then also looking at social issues, identities, and cultures through a sociological lens. The third course, Core 301, analyzes social systems and looks to address systemic issues. And then the last course is a research, really has a research focus with students engaging with pressing social issues and developing advocacy strategies. So these are the course descriptions. We have the full syllabi. If anybody wants to learn more about what happens in each of these courses, just reach out and let me know. You'll see that they do need to be taken in order. So Core 101 is a prereq for 201 and so forth. The other thing I wanted to mention is that for all of our students in a on-ground program, Core 101 and Core 201 will be on-ground courses, and Core 301 and Core 401 and Core 402 for the most part. Core 402 is a senior seminar, and the way in which that's taught can vary based on the topic. So there could be an in-person or on-ground component of 402, or it could be completely online. That'll be dependent upon the topic. But for 301 and 401, those are online asynchronous courses. Okay, I have just one more thing to show, and then I'm going to turn it over to Lori and then get some questions from you all. This is just an example of how we are embedding and scaffolding both examples of weekly objectives. We're doing this with all of our weekly objectives, but specifically we're doing this, or I'm showing you examples of how we're doing it in sociology and professional communication. But we have the 4 core courses were not developed in isolation. A team of us worked on those. So Gina Wagner worked on 101, I worked on 201 and 301, and Lori worked on 401, and Allison Grangenet from nursing also helped us with 101, and really just giving input across the board so that we could make sure that there wasn't overlap or we want to make sure that it worked well with the nursing program as well. And we've had an advisory board that has reps from HP and on the staff side. So I just want you to know that it's been a lot of people working together on this. But with the objectives, the weekly objectives, you'll see from like a sociological perspective in 101, students will start exploring societal and ethical dimensions. And then in core 201, they will identify components of one's social identities. So from a kind of individual level, understanding culture and identity. And then in 301, looking at the impact of inequities across different social groups, and then also looking at intersectionality. So we're building on this concept with each course. And then for professional communication in 101, a very broad weekly objective of working on developing verbal communication skills. 201, now they're utilizing those verbal communication skills specifically when giving constructive feedback in a team. And then in 401, they're using those verbal skills when communicating the depth of their learning and the significance of their advocacy work through a presentation. That's part of their core advocacy project. So again, building on those concepts.
Allison, before you move on.
Yep.
Your slides look like they're in Canva. Can you share those in a PDF?
Yeah.
Not everybody here has Canva access yet.
Oh, sure. Yep.
Great, thanks.
I will download those while Lori's talking and then upload the PDF to the chat.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. So actually, Lori, is it helpful if I keep this up? Because
actually, I was hoping to perhaps share my screen because I have a well updated sort of visual. But my question too is, do you want Dean to go first to share the teach out, or should I just go ahead and go? Or Dean, what's your preference?
Why don't you go first, since it's central to the core?
Okay, perfect. All right. I don't know if I am able to share, but I'm going to try.
Should be able to.
Okay. I am not seeing.
Are you over in your office?
I can walk down there, Lori.
I got it, Seth. I'm right there.
Okay, I think I see. Hold on a second. Okay. Can you see this?
Okay.
Perfect.
Awesome.
All right. Okay, so the Core Advocacy Project is a co-curricular program that is going to be launched in conjunction with the core curriculum. And it is longitudinal, meaning that it will be embedded in every single student's program, whether they're in an associate's program or a bachelor's degree program. So just as associate's degree students will take Core 101 and 201, they will also do the first 2 phases or the first 2 years of the Core Advocacy Project that will culminate in their a presentation in Core 201. Bachelor degree students will do 4 years of the core advocacy project that will culminate in an exhibit in Core 401. Let's see. Let me just tell you a little bit about how this will play out. Students will start their core advocacy project right away, and it will be embedded in Core 101, just meaning that there will be activities in Core 101 that will meet the requirements or the objectives of the core advocacy project, the same in 201 and the same in 401. One caveat to that is that we do not expect that the only core advocacy work that they will do are in those core courses. We invite and encourage all programs to create or embed in their program courses anything that meets the requirements or the objectives of the core curriculum. The third year for bachelor seeking students, the third year of the core advocacy project will not be embedded in a core course. It will be embedded in program courses. So I have met pretty extensively with HP and nursing, and all of those programs have identified an activity or a project or multiple activities and projects to meet the objectives of the third phase or the third year of the core advocacy project. So every program, every program will have something embedded that meets the objectives of the core advocacy project. So year one, every student will reflect on their core values, their passions, and their mission. The second year, every student will select and explore a social issue, and that selection and exploration of a social issue will be largely informed by their exploration of their own values and passions. So whatever they uncover about their values and passions, we are going to encourage them to select a social issue that kind of aligns their passions with the world's needs. And then bachelor level students will continue on, and in their third year, they will design and implement a community engagement project wherever they are in our region. If they're an online student, we're going to ask them to design and implement that in their particular communities. So every student will do that. And also what's not on here, but they're also expected to do some policy research in their program courses or in their foundation courses as well. And we've also, we're in the process of mapping that. And then in Core 401, they will design and execute an advocacy plan. So they will come up with a plan for making an impact in whatever social issue they've been working on. And they actually have to implement that, and they'll have a variety of ways to do that. And then at the very end, they'll put everything together that they have done into an exhibit that demonstrates their growth as a change agent. Yeah, these are the key objectives at the bottom that just kind of are an overview of what students will be doing and what we're hoping that they will accomplish throughout their core advocacy project. Okay, I'll stop sharing and take any questions.
That was a great roadmap. I'm going to ask the same question. Can you share that via PDF to the chat?
Sure, I will do that.
Thank you.
You got it.
Great. Thank you so much, Lori. So there's a question about learning communities. There's a question about teach out. I'll start with learning communities. I did pull up the most recent teach out plan too. Dean, I can talk about that and you can confirm that I'm correct. For learning communities, we have a pilot proposal that we'll be implementing, which is working with first-time freshmen. Dean may have an update for me. we were considering just doing it with one section of first-time freshmen, but there's been a talk potentially to have all first-time freshmen involved in the learning community if we can make it work logistically. I don't know if that decision has been made, but at least some first-time freshmen will be participating in a learning community, and the learning community will be scheduled like a lab as part of Core 101. So those first-time freshmen that are in the learning community, they will be enrolled in Core 101 with a learning community lab. That learning community lab will meet once a week for 50 minutes. And the idea is that we will be really reinforcing and expanding on some of the concepts in Core 101 regarding mindset and stress management strategies, but also making sure that those students are connected to all the resources at NMC, that they know how to utilize them, they know how to access them, they can even they use them, they can reflect on them, they can share what they're learning from utilizing them. Those students are also going to be co-enrolled in Bio 225 and potentially another course. But so those students will be able to really tailor what is happening in both Core 101 and 225 and make sure that we're supporting them through the learning community. The goal of the learning community is to help with first-time freshman retention. It's to help them be successful in their first semester of courses, which includes 225, so trying to reduce DFWs in that course, and to help with belonging. The goal is that they do feel more connected and engaged and a sense of belonging here at NMC. And so we'll be collecting data and assessing the learning community with the potential of rolling this out to additional groups of students in the future. We are working closely with OSE. I've got a meeting with Lisa and Sarah on Wednesday. We have shared some draft schedules and got some input from them already in terms of what resources to introduce and when. But this really stemmed from, a year ago, having conversations with faculty in terms of what they wanted to see in the core. And there was a lot of concerns about students being able to, with some of the academic success skills, transitioning to college, preparedness, time management. And although there'll be some components of that in Core 101, this will really we'll be able to expand on that in a much deeper way with this group of students that are also in the learning community. So does that answer your questions about learning communities, or is there any, if you want additional information on that, just come off mute and let me know or put it in the chat. If not, I'm going to share about the teach out plan. So students that are obviously start new with us next year will take 101, Core 101, 201, 301, 401. Students who have already taken HUME 150 and SSE 235, they will take potentially COM 320 in the fall of 25 and then move into Core 401. We also may have some students who took HUME 150 and 235 that we can move directly into Core 301. And I don't know the difference between those students. I know Dean and advising will be working closely on that. And then students who have taken HUME 150, SSE 235, COM 320, they will take SSE 465. And we will teach that to students in the fall and spring and summer of next year. So we do have a plan in place for students who took HUME 150 and SSE 235 and how they're going to move over and transition to 301, because they'll have to make up some of the work that students did in Core 101 and 201. I have developed 301 and I'll be teaching that and working with adjuncts that also teach it to make sure that we catch those students up so they won't be at any disadvantage. So SSE 465 last time taught summer 26, and then COM 320 last time taught fall 25. I think I just saw on that teach out plan, Dean, that we will teach SSC 235 in the fall to the students that need it. So that also will be taught for the last time in 235 in fall of 25. And as soon as I get confirmation from Dean that this is the most up-to-date one, I'm happy to send that to you, Lisa, and to anyone else that needs it.
Yeah, just a one liner. Thanks, Allison, for that summary. We are meeting, in fact, tomorrow morning, when we look at our calendars at 9 o'clock to review the teach out plan, because we do know that advising is under a sensitive deadline to get these new students transitioned. So we're very aware of that, and it's coming soon. So that's on for tomorrow. So watch for the update.
All right. Do we have any other questions? Otherwise, I have some questions for you all, because again, I find it to be, I learn a lot from you all. And so I had some questions on this last slide, but I'm just going to put them in the chat so I can see all of you and see the chat. So first question is, what is most exciting to you about the new core? As you have heard things in the past or from what you heard today, what are you excited about? I'm going to just put all the questions in there. You can answer them all. We do have another Lunch and Learn in 2 weeks, and then we will be presenting at Assessment Day. So the questions that you give us today is really helpful to know what it is that faculty and staff need to know about this. So I really appreciate you being here. And this last question, what additional information or resources would you want? That will also help inform, because we want to make sure that as we roll this out, faculty and staff feel very much well informed and have the resources to point to if students have questions or you yourself have questions. We have a good resource database in place for people. So we want to know what needs to go in there. Okay, I'm seeing more applicable to today's society, more intentional, focuses on change agents, emphasis on collaboration, interdisciplinary approach, the core advocacy project, having classes unique and important to NMC. I agree. I think that having this common experience that all students are going to have in Core 101 and Core 201, and then if they continue as a bachelor's degree student, I think that is going to be really exciting.
Are there going to be rolling course starts? Because we do have some students that start in the spring.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. So Core 101 it'll be taught every term pretty much. So students that start with us in the spring will take it in the spring. Students that take it in the summer. Now, it won't be taught this summer. Or if we do have a summer start, we'll have them enroll in the fall for Core 101. But otherwise, we'll offer it every term. And the goal, the intention was that it be the first, that every student take it in their first semester, their very first term here. That is our goal. Good question, April. Okay, so the educated citizen essays or reflections that you maybe have had your students write in the past on reflective individual, effective communicator, or change agent. Over the course of the last 5 to 10 years, a lot of faculty have assigned these in their courses. Sometimes it was kind of like required that we say, okay, everybody in Nursing 105 has to assign a reflective individual, etc. There's no longer a requirement that you assign those educated citizen reflections for the portfolio, because there is no longer a portfolio. However, what we think is really important is if that assignment is still meaningful, because we are still teaching and focusing on reflective individual, effective communicator, and change agent. So if that assignment is still a meaningful assignment that makes sense in your course and it meets course objectives, then absolutely we want you to keep it. And you can tell students, hey, this is a great artifact to include in your CAP exhibit. Because in the exhibit, which Lori didn't talk too much about, but there is going to be a repository where students can keep all of the artifacts of things that they did. So their mission and values assessment and reflection, when they chose their social issue, how they chose it and why, the research paper about their social issue, their community engagement project that they implemented, their white paper, their advocacy plan, all of that will go into this exhibit, which right now, I think Lori, correct me if I'm wrong, we're still going to use Google Sites to start because it's free and pretty user friendly. So students will have all of that, and they can also add video or audio or pictures on that Google site. And that's also where they can include reflections or other assignments in other courses that they think help demonstrate how they've grown as a change agent. And reflective individual and effective communicator are still two components that we believe are important. So if you have an assignment and you think it still is a good fit for your class, I would encourage you to still use it. However, if you're like, I've only been doing this because I was told I had to, and it really doesn't fit well, I think it's okay at this moment to say, hey, this really isn't a good fit. And then it may get picked up somewhere else. There may be another faculty or somebody is teaching and says, yeah, this is really important. But in terms of the core advocacy project, Lori will be working with all the faculty. That is mapped out. And if you have a core advocacy project component in your course, that is a required component that we want to make sure all faculty are utilizing every semester that they teach that course.
I
Okay,
can just say that,
Yeah, go,
sorry.
please.
Just
No, go.
really quickly, those who have sort of a required project or activity in their course are well aware of that. If I haven't talked with you, then you don't have a required, but I just want to reiterate what Allison said in that any faculty member is strongly encouraged to incorporate change agency, advocacy, anything related to the core advocacy project in their courses. You are welcome to and actually encouraged to do that.
Yeah, and we're going to have time at assessment day for you all to think about how you might do that. So know that more is coming on that. But I've had some questions about the educated citizen reflections. You can definitely still utilize them, but it's not a required component of the core advocacy project. I saw some other good questions. Gina asked about, is there a program within this program where higher level students mentor students in lower level core courses? Okay, so one of the goals that I have with the learning community is to utilize peer mentors. It's a best practice, high impact practice. We here at the college have been doing peer mentoring as part of a couple of nursing and arts and science courses in the past. We know, is Kristen McNulty on this call? She's been doing a lot of research on peer mentoring. We know how important it is.
Yes, I'm super excited to hear this part.
Yeah, well, so I want to temper your enthusiasm in the sense that the goal is to pilot some aspect of peer mentoring in the learning community this fall. How robust it is in the pilot is not yet to be seen. But it is a desire and a goal of mine personally, and I think of our team to incorporate peer mentoring in some way, particularly in Core 101 with that learning community. So we'll definitely be coming to Kristen and relying on some of the work that she's already done and trying to figure out a model that would work for this. So I already have some ways that we're going to do it already in Core 101, but I'd like it to be expanded in the future. I don't know, Gina, does that answer your question, or maybe you've heard, we have mentioned that peer mentoring piece as part of learning community. That's where it would show up as of right now. Lori, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, I just thought this just came to me, and I don't know the details in terms of time frame, but we are inviting people to apply to lead or facilitate a section of Core 402, which is that seminar course. I would say if there are graduate level students who have a desire and some kind of expertise or passion for a particular topic within healthcare, I think that would also be a great place for graduate students to get involved if they would want to.
Okay. Yeah, that's a great idea. Oh, I see, Gina, thank you. I wasn't thinking of what Lori just shared at the doctoral level. I think that's awesome. We're thinking like undergraduate peer mentors, like maybe a student in their second or third or fourth year would mentor first year students. But yeah, there's definitely opportunities at that 402 senior seminar for doctoral students. I'm going back on some questions. I saw, well, Kat is saying that it helps meet the AACN essentials, Google Sites, wanting some more, work, Dean says he wants to learn more about that. Will faculty to student ratios be lower or be lower to be quality driven? My understanding is that we are capping Core 101 and Core 201, I believe, since they're on ground classes at 20. And that that's all I know. Dean, I don't know if you have anything else to add on that.
They're going to be somewhere between 20 and 25 because the bold enrollment targets they have, if we meet them, there would be 25, and that would be across 9 sections of Core 101. That's a lot. But we are sort of ready that then that allows us this enrollment distribution. So there will be 20. Even if we have 9 sections of 20, that's really robust. But if we meet our true targets, we have the admissions team is on there, that would be as much as 25, but we'll be somewhere in there.
Well, that sounds good because
Okay.
as nursing, we sometimes have 60, 70 students in the class, and I could see this being not as well done. So thank you. Appreciate that.
And then with the learning communities, the plan, my plan is that there would even be smaller groups within the learning community. So if we have 25 students in a section of a learning community lab, they would be grouped into smaller groups where they would have kind of a team of folks, and those are the people they put in their phone. Like, this is who you call if you have a question on, what Seth said in Bio 225 last week about what's going to be on the test or whatever. We want to make sure they're building connections with, really kind of force them to build connections with a few people that are in their cohort. And they'll be doing some exercises then as that smaller team that will help. I guess that helps a little bit with what you're talking about, Kat. Since we're already tight with room scheduling, will current classes have potential time changes? Okay, Dean's
they go across
that.
the entire day from 8 until almost 8 o'clock at night when they end. Yes.
All right, these are great questions. One question that Dean put back in there to repost is, what additional information or resources would you want? We want to make sure that you have access to everything, but we also don't want to overload you with stuff that you don't necessarily need. So there will be on Brightspace a course or a module that where everything will be housed for both faculty and staff to access. What would you want on there? What are some of the key items that you think would be helpful?
We'd love to have people brainstorm that in the chat so we make sure we get it right.
So I would ask, what changes do we expect to our courses? Like, how will this affect nursing or sonography or even some of the science, Bio 315, that patho farm? How will this core affect those classes overall? I think that would be something that would be good to address.
Well, I mean, we've worked with all the program directors, and so they have, worked on where do these courses fall in their curriculum, and if they're. I think you ask a really good question. It just seems very individual, from like an individual course level. I will say that's one thing that we're planning to do at assessment day. I don't want to give too much of it away, but there will be an interactive opportunity for you to think about, based on what you know about our new core, is there anything in your course that relates to the new core that you can introduce, reinforce, or help master? I think for some courses, there might not be really major changes to your course with this new core curriculum. We want you to know about it. We want you to be talking about it. We want you to be familiar with the core advocacy project, but not every course is going to have a major change because of the new core, at least in my thought. Some other courses may have, like Lori's been working closely with student or with program directors in their third year of their program for a bachelor degree student. What is a course where we could introduce a community engagement project? And for a lot of those courses, they hadn't been doing that in the past. This is brand new, and it's going to be a pretty big shift in their course. For others, it might not be as big of shifts. Did that help answer that, Seth? We will get, since all faculty will be at assessment day, we will get to talk about that a little bit more. We have a kind of a design for that.
Yeah, I'm imagining a nursing faculty, you're hearing about this for the first or second time. What do I expect to change for me? Like it's not really for me, but I think that's a question people will have.
Yeah.
Another question I have is, when students are coming here and learning about this, what are we doing to help students understand what this means for them and how this will give them a leg up? I think that's perhaps something that needs to go to marketing and admissions, but like as a faculty, do we know how that is occurring and if it is or not?
Yeah, we absolutely are working closely with marketing. They have created like an 18-month plan for how they are going to market the new core curriculum. And they used a term called evergreen, which is a marketing term, but the idea being that this is just part of the new story that we talk about, that it is a talking point when we talk to all new students, which is really exciting. Because I would say in the past, I don't think our core curriculum was necessarily a talking point that we were always talking with new students about. So there is a plan for both, I mean, all sorts of media. So social media, print, video, website, trying to get some media coverage of the core curriculum. There's lots of components in the works, but to your point, Seth, it sounds like faculty should know what that is and what that plan is and how they maybe could be involved with that, or they might be asked to be involved in it in some way. So, Dean, I don't know if you're taking notes, but if you could jot that down as something that we would want to include in our Brightspace page, we could include something about the marketing plan of this for sure.
Got it. Thank you.
I would say too, in terms of educating students, there is a module, at the very least a module, but I know it's going to be threaded through the whole entire Core 101 course. So students will get they'll get an introduction and then a pretty in-depth understanding of the core curriculum as a whole and the core advocacy project as well.
Yeah, we do know that this also has to be embedded in our new onboarding of faculty. So we've talked about what would that look like, but both current students, new students, current faculty, new faculty, staff, and our external stakeholders and audiences. We do need to make sure that we're providing education to all of them, and it's a little bit different for each of those groups. But that we do have a good working relationship with marketing to make that, and adjuncts. Yes, April, thank you. It's a really important group, and there will be adjuncts teaching in the core. And so they'll be intimately involved, but then we also want to make sure adjuncts that are teaching in the foundation courses and program courses also are familiar with this.
Allison, will you have a slot at Care Days? It would be great to be in front of the students as they're coming in there.
Great question. I don't know that we've talked about that, but I think that's a great idea. Absolutely. For our new students, for brand new students, I think we definitely should still be there. But for our brand new students, they won't know that anything's different because they'll be coming in and this will just be the core. But I think we should still be there to talk about, you know, what's exciting about it, what's great, what resources are available. One thing I'm worried about is our current students feeling like they know, you know, how it impacts them. For some students, it's going to impact them quite a bit. If they just started here in fall 24 or spring 25, they're going to shift over into this new curriculum in the next year. And we want to make sure they know that, and that they're not scared about it, that they don't feel like it's going to disadvantage them in any way. Because any change is hard, but we want to make sure that they feel like it's not going to hurt them in any way. And that is true. Like, nobody has to take additional courses, no additional credits. They don't have to redo anything. They don't, you know, we've worked really hard to make that, but they might not know that. So I think making that clear to them is important. Kat, are you looking for faculty to teach? That would really be a dean question. I know, just to let you know, we are going to be rolling out a call for faculty to teach Core 402, the senior seminar, and proposed topics that they may cover. I don't know what all is needed for the other core courses in terms of faculty workload, but if you're interested, I would definitely say reach out to Dean.
Hey, it's Kat. I do have one more question. It sounds like that we're trying to put a couple balls up in the air at the same time of like implementing this, but then some of the old is staying and some of the new is going. And it's just a question. And I know we're trying to implement this probably quicker than later. Why are we not just implementing this with just every new group of students and then just keep adding and then keep the old, and then finally, hopefully within how many years, I guess, it might take too long to get it all put together. And you probably had this big discussion and we weren't all part of it. And it may be a stupid question, but just asking.
No. Yeah, no, it's not a stupid question at all. That's definitely one model when you do a new curriculum, is you teach out the old and you bring new students into the new, and then you know, over time you get to now everybody's on the new. I'll let Dean add to this because I was in some of those conversations, but he may have a better way of explaining it. One challenge is workload. So teaching the number of sections we would need to teach out and the new at the same time, what is a personnel issue concern. I think that was one piece of it. But I don't know, Dean, if you want to talk more about the decision to move people over into the new curriculum as opposed to just teaching out the old.
Yeah, great question. We made a decision early on before the catalog went out last year to put that statement in the catalog for any new student who came into fall 24 start, that they would be scheduled to transition to the new. Because of faculty, we have certain populations that are in small numbers, and we couldn't afford, given how students go on leave and they come back, and you know, we teach year round. So getting everybody in and when they need it, it's really, the puzzle gets so complex. We made probably a sustainable decision to say, let's figure out how to transition people when it makes sense and as early as possible. So it's very student-centered in the decision-making, but that really was a sustainability, and frankly, it's like a Rubik's Cube. So we didn't want to do it too many times.
Thank you. I understand.
But I do think that's important
I'm
for
just-
students. Go ahead, Lisa.
I'm just thinking, I know it's the first day of registration and I don't see any advising staff on this, but or registrar, like, as long as they're aware of if they were old curriculum and then how does that transfer, and kind of come up on their degree audit. Like, as long as advising staff and registrar knows how that all equates, which I'm sure is something, but that's just something that I thought of as I was thinking that no advisors were on this meeting.
Great question, Lisa.
Yeah,
I'll have to I'll follow up on that because I do know it works on their end, but I don't know the how, and that would be important to have that named.
Yep, because otherwise you're gonna have students, their degree audit is going to be inaccurate and no reason to panic. But if it isn't clear and kind of working behind the scenes, we all know.
Got it, thank you.
Yeah, yeah, I know Alina has been working on that because she's asked us some questions about, if
Yep,
it's a,
like what works for what and.
yes.
Yep. Just
But we
thinking of
do,
all
yeah,
the
we do
things.
want to make sure, because we really do, I mean, I'm of course biased, but I'm really excited about this. I think it is going to be really meaningful for the students. I think it's what we've been doing in the past has been, I think, really unique and strong. And I think this just elevates it to another level. And so moving students into this new core curriculum, I think is in their best interest. I think they are going to get a lot out of it. But we just want to make sure that they feel that way too. And so the easier it is, the less complicated it is, the less confusing, less panicky it is, the better. And so I think that's a really good point. I do know we have just a couple of minutes left. Any final questions? I'm gonna launch an instant poll here. Give me a thumbs up if you feel like you know more about the core now than you did previously. Thumbs down if you're still like, I still really don't know really much of what's going on related to this. You can do it on the poll itself or just in the chat, either one. Okay, we're getting 100% thumbs up so far, so I love that. Thank you. I'm trying to get over. I saw one more comment come in. For students who may ask for the elevator speech about the new core, yes, yes. We will get you some bullet points, but again, I don't want to give too much away. But at assessment day, and I know not everyone's at assessment day, so we want to make sure that this gets out in other formats. But we're going to ask you all to do a little version of an elevator speech, so that everyone can feel comfortable talking about this. But we will make sure, Sarah, just due to time, I will make sure that we send out some bullet points that would cover, like, here are the top 3 things we want every student to know about the new core that you could deliver in 60 seconds.
And Allison, is marketing developing some of that as well?
I don't think we've specifically asked them for something like that. They could probably help us if needed. But in the meantime, I think we can definitely get something out to all faculty and staff, particularly those that are working on registration right now, and students have questions. We want to make sure you have some good talking points to share back with them. So I will get that out. I just heard Lisa say advising starts this week. Registration does. I'll make sure that we get it out this week.
Allison, something else you could do is you could use a create room and we could record just something to put up in the YouTube spiel. Or YouTube spot. So Lori, I know had some experience with that, getting it recorded, and for something she was working on. So maybe coming in and doing that, and then we can put it in the student survival guide, and we could also put that in the crash course for the students. So we've got some video out there to help them.
Yeah, I think that's great. We definitely I can do a short video, but we can also give talking points so other people feel comfortable answering questions. I know other people have meetings at 1. I also have a meeting at 1 that I have to jump off for. Thank you all for being here. And if you want to hear about this again, we'll be talking about this again. I think it's Tuesday, April 8th. Otherwise, if you have faculty or staff or friends say, hey, I don't know much about the core, you can refer them to come to our next Lunch and Learn.
Great job. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, good information. They've done a great job with it.
It's going to be
Good. Yeah.